So when you're out in your best Ness drag and you're approached by a creep, what's the best option? A PK fire into a back throw? I'm Mac Fraser.
I'm Backrolls, and we're the Nintendo Nerds.
We're a new comedy and gaming duo here to help you craft and play your way to a better day.
We met in the not-too-distant past during some spirited online Mario Kart and discovered we share a love for art, gaming, and all things Nintendo.
And we want to share some of our nerdy knowledge with you.
So stick around, because in today's video, we are joined by the amazing Erika Klash. If you are a Bay Area local, you have definitely seen her performing in a club near you. But internationally, you have heard her name as part of the royal alumni of Dragula, the reality TV show that celebrates drag, filth, horror, and glamour in search of America's next drag supermonster. Erika immediately stands out from the rest of the pack as one of our very favorite gaming and cosplay queens, having brought us mind-blowing drag looks inspired from the video game worlds of Nintendo and beyond. If there's an anime or retro game you love from the 90s, there is a strong chance Erika has already taken it and flipped it on its head into a sickening drag look, from Bomberman to Bubble Bobble. Erika appeared on Season 2 of Dragula and has been on a whirlwind international tour of performing ever since, so we are so lucky to have her with us today. Erika, thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness, what an introduction. Thank you for having me.
Well,
it's our pleasure.
we're so proud of you and so proud of what you create, and so we're so excited to have you with us.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Erika, thanks so much for being with us. You've had an extremely busy few years since Dragula Season 2 aired back in 2017. How much has your world changed since you went on reality television?
Oh, well, ever since Dragula, I've gotten to kind of live the dream. And I started performing 5.5 years ago. I had this laser focus to execute this particular idea of what I wanted to do with drag, and I wanted to turn it into a business. And so now I'm in the midst of just juggling all these different hats and doing drag as a business and doing drag as part of a platform. It's been a learning experience. I mean, the last 2 years have just been a creative kind of explosion of new ideas for me. So it's been lovely.
We love hearing that. Now, if you don't watch Dragula already, there has been such an incredible cast already in only 3 seasons. Meatball, Vander Von Odd, Abora, Madeline Hatter. I mean, shout out to...
Eve.
Absolutely. The list just goes on and on. I personally would like to take a moment to shout out that in Season 3, we have reality TV's first drag king in Landon Sider, and he is just amazing. And that's just a brief taste of that short list. And without spoiling it for you if you haven't already watched, I was so proud of you representing our dear foggy San Francisco.
Yes, I had only been living in San Francisco for about 3 months before I got the call, or 4 months. We started taping in August. I moved to the Bay Area in March. So having San Francisco under my name was kind of strange, just because I didn't want to, misrepresent a city that is so underrepresented on these kinds of shows, right? So there was a lot of pressure there, but in a lot of ways, San Francisco really prepared me for the show too.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, my particular favorite was your performance in the punk rock challenge. You and your team really brought the experience.
And that was the fact that we had two theater kids and 2 kind of seasoned rock and rollers, I think really worked to our benefit with that particular challenge, because we had that punk rock energy, but we had also the discipline and the commitment to what we're doing on stage.
To make sure that the bits you were doing were readable to an audience and that they were still funny and they still had really strong moments. It really stood out to me. I think theater kids, that's exactly right. They were the ones who were making sure that it's like, we have to make sure this reads to the audience.
Right. So me and Bitch Pudding were on that team, and then Dali having toured the world in a rock band, and Disasterina being a seasoned rocker as well. They just knew how to bring that energy or how to just bring that extra oomph. All the gags, Disasterina was in charge of. So we still get so much love from that group challenge.
Now, I'm someone who would probably be far too horrified to watch myself on television. Did you watch Season 2, and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's hard to watch now just because I see the person that I was, 2 years ago. I see the artist that I was 2 years ago. Sometimes it's hard to look back on yourself, and you maybe I'm certainly the kind of person that is self-critical, very hard on myself. So Going back now is kind of difficult, but back then it was amazing. Because I had this kind of mental image in my mind of what that day was, and then to see it kind of condensed down, and to see all the floor shows cut together was just really, really special.
We wanted to ask you a few questions about your Dragula story because that's why so many people will know you. If you haven't watched Erika on the show, even with a reality TV filter, your kindness still shines through. But we think our audience of gamers should definitely get to know you as well because you're crazy creative. You've done so many different video game inspired looks. When in your drag journey did you begin to cross the world into video games and drag? And was it from the get-go, or how did you usually go about creating these looks?
Yeah, well, the initial kind of kernel of the idea of this character was a Princess Peach type, but not purely the damsel in distress, someone who was reclaiming their femininity, reclaiming their power, and of course that you see that reflected in a lot of people, how people talk about drag. So that wasn't as unique, but what was unique was this sort of idea that I had of just incorporating all this 8-bit music into my numbers somehow, and having all that kind of stuff, being a video game character brought to life, a cartoon in the real world, so to speak. And so that was the sort of the initial idea. It evolved from sort of this Princess Peach character to kind of melding into all these different characters. And then eventually I started to kind of conceive these head-to-toe cosplays, but I got kind of tired of just getting a generic costume, or I really wanted to find ways to take a non-human character or just a very cartoonish character and impose that on the female, quote-unquote female form, or the feminine form, in a way that was interesting and that had a little bit of fashion to it, a little bit of camp to it, just like any piece of drag should. So when you look at something like the Bomberman look with the high ponytail, or my Ness cosplay, it's not literal. There's always that little bit of drag, and there's always that little bit of incorporating those little details that you'd only think of as a drag queen, or that you'd only think about, in terms of creating a high fashion silhouette with an existing character and an existing color story.
Well, and you using the word silhouette is such a perfect segue. You have said before that rather than trying to recreate a female form, sometimes you go into a look saying, how do I recreate Ghastly on stage? And I think that's such a exciting way to begin a drag project, and I'm sure that feeds into your creativity.
I mean, I tried to take the sort of the rules of drag, quote unquote, because I hate the concept of rules in an art form like drag, but things like, how to cinch your waist, how to pad yourself, these kinds of things can really add to your interpretation of a character. And so I would always encourage collaboration between cosplayers and drag performers. There's a lot of overlap, a lot more than people want to realize.
200%, yes.
So much overlap. And so the more that I can kind of create something new out of that combination, the more fun I have with it.
Well, it's not only video games, so obviously Pokemon and Smash Brothers are huge inspirations for you, but
Right.
you have so many anime influences.
Yeah, Sailor Moon is always major. Japanese street fashion is a major part of how I put together my looks, how I
Yes,
style
the
them.
Harajuku style, yes, absolutely.
Yes. I've also been a long time, lifelong horror nerd. And so getting to incorporate that now and go into the darker side of anime.
So what are some of the particular video games and anime series that really inspire you beyond the ones we've listed? What are some of your deep cuts?
Yes, well, I mean, I think the original kind of idea for Erika will always go back to the Princess Peach kind of character. So Super Mario Brothers was so major for me growing up. A lot of Pokemon, and even with the Pokemon looks that I've done, you see it's not a human character. It's
Missing
an
no.
interpretation yeah, it's a glitch, or it's an animal. And so how can you make that into something really fun? How can you adapt, impose kind of the rules or the conventions of that shape of that character onto a human body, and a decidedly feminine human body? So anyway, a lot of Mario, a lot of Zelda. I'm just a diehard Nintendo fan. Metroid has been a big darling for me recently. And so getting to, and of course also the 8-bit music is a big part of, what fuels me as an artist when I'm in my crafting room crafting, or putting numbers together. It's always in there somewhere.
So, keeping with the video games here, you recently said that Gruntilda of Banjo-Kazooie was one of your favorite divas of gaming as part of your
Yes.
favorite divas in video gaming countdown on Trish TV. Well,
Yes.
we'll definitely include the link to that countdown in the video description. We don't get a lot of Grunty in our new Smash Brothers stage, but at least we get a little bit of a taste. Did you play Banjo-Kazooie back in the day, and how happy are you to see those characters in Smash?
Yes, I am a diehard Banjo-Kazooie fan to the point that I still have my N64 from the 90s. And a big part of why I still have it, because of course so many of the heavy hitters of that library have been re-released elsewhere. But of course Banjo-Kazooie has not been available on a Nintendo platform since the N64.
That
So
presentation
it's one of
on
the great...
the banjo presentation where Sakurai told us all to go play it on
To go
Xbox.
get an Xbox.
That hurt.
Yes, and so for the last, almost 20 years now, I've just been told to get an Xbox. I'm too much of a diehard Nintendo fan to do that. So I still have my N64 with me. Banjo-Kazooie was major for me.
I've never had the chance to ask this of a drag queen. Who are your Smash mains?
Okay, I have a list. So Link
yes.
is my main. But I also love Ridley. I love Bowser, Ice Climbers, and I have been practicing a lot more with Ness recently as I've turned myself into.
You feel the need to represent.
Ness is a spectacular character, so enjoy.
I think just to clear my head, the first time that I did the look, I think to clear my head the day of, I actually ran through Ness's classic mode in Ultimate just to enjoy the character a little bit and soak myself up one more time.
I love the selection, the wide variety of characters that you like in Smash. It's pretty amazing how you run into many different people, and everybody's answers to that question are so different.
Well, now because we have so many Smash characters. Back in the early days of Smash, we only had 12 maximum.
And
Now we
most
have
of them were
12,
not even all that good to play as. Playing as Link
Right.
in the original was a exercise in masochism.
Oh, really? Okay. See, I never played the original. I've only started playing Smash relatively recently.
Well, I don't recommend starting on Nintendo 64. The game has come a long, long way.
Yeah,
It's definitely-
that kind of action.
It's definitely a bit antiquated compared to the games of today, that's for sure.
I do have Smash 4 waiting for me, and I also have Smash Brothers Brawl waiting for me. Eventually, I'd love Smash Melee to come back.
Oh,
to
Smash
get
4 is
re-released
so
on
good.
there.
You'll enjoy that one. Smash 4 was very well done. So, in addition to performing consistently and creating web content, you're a creator of a live drag show, Pastel Gore, which performs monthly in San Francisco. What are some of the pros and cons of booking and maintaining a live monthly event?
Well, it is a lot of work, but at the same time, we're in a place right now where we've worked with the same venue since March, and so we're working with them on indefinitely. And so some of that gets easier, the day-to-day of executing the show, because now we have a stage manager, regular stage manager every month, regular DJ every month, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just have to plug in all the update all the details for that particular month's show, and just go from there. What I really enjoy about our show is that we have a core cast of 4 of us who can kind of dip in and out whenever we'd like. Over the summer, we had a lot more guests than usual just because people were traveling and so on. But it's really nice to have a set group of folks that you get to collaborate with every month. We all choose the show themes together, and we pick all of our guest performers together. So it's really, we're sort of one part's monthly show, one part's collective, and that's really fun.
Oh, awesome.
Well, we record these pretty far in advance, so it is hard to plug a very specific live upcoming show, but you're definitely going to have a very busy Halloween season and beyond, so...
Halloween is looking insane.
That's great. We love to hear it. Where's the best place for people to check out where you're going to be next and to find more of your programming?
So I'm actually really, really excited. I'm going to have my first haunted house experience this month.
With Peaches Christ, right?
With Peaches Christ.
Yes.
To be in Terra Vault, I'm gonna be a killer clown on stilts. So I'm very excited for the physical challenge as well as just the acting challenge of working in a haunted house. I'm gonna be going to Fresno, Portland, Modesto. So I'll be doing a little bit of touring, and then the Pastel Gore Halloween show will be Thursday, October 17th. And fingers crossed, we might have one of my Dragula season 1 sisters coming up to do the show. So plenty of touring, plenty of gigs. Halloween is looking really fun. Probably the easiest place to find where I'll be at is my social media, like Instagram or Facebook. I'm thinking for October I'll have on my story highlights just a in-depth listing of everything. So
Perfect. Well, Erika, we've got time for one more question.
Mhm.
You're somebody who previously said that you moved away from New York to San Francisco because you felt that they better understood your punk video game vibes. However, it seems like both video games and drag culture are entering their way into the mainstream, particularly in the last couple of years or so. Do you see yourself excited about the future ahead for drag and video games crossing over and becoming a bigger part of pop culture? Or do you think there's still some work to be done on that front?
I in general am not categorically against things going mainstream. I'm not against it for the sake of being against it. I will say though, with drag, part of the work of Dragula, as I'm sure you know, is reminding folks that there is a darker, edgier underbelly to drag. That drag is an important part of counterculture. It's an important part of questioning, mocking identity, questioning and mocking social structures. So,
in an era where drag is picking up awards, I completely agree with you. It's important to remember where it came from.
I think there's important work to be done as far as getting certain things across to the dominant culture about who we are. And I think Drag Race is doing a lot of that great work. Shows like Pose are doing that for trans people.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think at the end of the day, the balls went back underground. So I think eventually drag will maybe follow and do the same. And I don't think that's altogether a bad thing. I tend to think that, you know, we have to preserve the traditions and the history of what we do. And in terms of the grand scheme of, you know, gay liberation or just the last, 60 or so years, drag queens as makeup spokespeople and Pepsi commercial spokespeople, it's relatively a new idea. So not that it's anything bad, but I just try to keep that sort of darker, edgier side of it alive and try to remind people that drag comes in all kinds of different forms. And it's also okay to not, for the dominant culture to not be comfortable fully with who we are, to not fully understand who we are. I don't think there's anything wrong with being unapologetically queer. And so I just want to encourage people to do that if they feel like they need to.
You really hit the nail on the head, and thank you for speaking so eloquently on that. I'm so glad we asked you that question so that you could speak on it. Erika, thanks again so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
As always, we hope that you leave this video ready to pick up a Pro Controller, a paintbrush, or a pen. I'm Backrolls.
I'm Mac Fraser, and this has been the Nintendo Nerds.